Yes.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. How is that? I cannot see any participants.
So you can see, sir. No, maybe I think I'll just stop sharing. Maybe you will be able to see that, right?
Yes, now I am able.
Yes. I'll just. Can you just check, sir, if your presentation sharing screen is on? That presentation
okay,
can
I'll just.
All right.
I'll just share.
Right, sir.
Just a second. Now I'll share the screen. Can you see it?
Yeah. Yes, it's visible, sir. No issues, right?
It is visible. So you can put your slide. No problem.
No problem, sir. That, let this one remain, sir. It's okay. Right.
So we'll wait for the participants till the time is up.
Just, sir, just 5 minutes or so. By the time normally people will join. So normally that is what used to happen. So by the time it is 30 odd members, we used to start, and then people keep on joining continuously. Because here it has been raining continuously for last 2 to 3 weeks now, right? So, and today also it has been raining here heavily, and just now it has come down a bit, but it will start again for sure. So because of which, huge issue.
Okay, there are problems with the internet also with that.
Yes, sir. Sometimes some of my students are not able to log in because of that. So, it happens regularly even during our online classes also. So sometimes students are not able to join because of connectivity is still a huge issue. Even though Kerala is a small state, but still.
This is, I think, the case with every part in the country. It's not every part. Even in Delhi, sometimes you will find the students complaining that the reception for internet is poor or something.
Shadow zones.
Yeah.
Today we have participants from across India, and I think 2 or 3 candidates are there who are from outside India as well. I think from some organizations in US, some researchers basically, and those who are working on these international related issues and all. So they are also there. So otherwise we have from starting from Jammu and Kashmir to Kanyakumari and Arunachal to Gujarat, lots of people are there. Faculty plus students plus research scholars. So all of them are there in the. So you have.
That is a certain advantage with.
Yes.
That is an advantage with this communication.
Yes. And this is the 7th one as of now. So it was just a personal initiative from my side, so that because we are all sitting at home, and most of the time what happens is that students don't get an opportunity to know what is happening, and and they keep on asking, what can we do with geography? Is there things that we what type of research we can do? Because normally the trend is people going along with land use mapping and such kind of things. There are other things also that is happening. So I thought this is the best possible venue and possible time wherein I can introduce these kinds of topics to them, and maybe higher studies also, because the thing that you are going to talk today is an immense, it gives an immense opportunity in international higher studies and all, right? Maybe in India, we don't have too many departments offering this kind of discipline, but outside India, there are. Right?
That's true.
Especially
Internationally,
UK.
the opportunities are huge. That's actually true.
Right. Huge possibilities are. So it actually opens up lots of things for them. So that's why I initiated this. And till now, it has been going in a smooth manner, and hope to do so in maybe next for a few months or so. And there are requests coming in from across India as such to have a platform from research scholars, because they don't get an opportunity to speak at venues and all. And if it is conferences and all, what they get is just 5-10 minutes time, but they are unable to express what they actually want to present and all. So we are trying to work on that also. Possibly we'll develop a platform for them so that they can also share, in the presence of some faculty members, so that they can be guided also further. So that possibility is also being looked into.
No, I think this is a very good initiative, because there is a lot of exposure in certain parts of the country, whereas in I think many parts, in many other parts of the country, there is not much. So there is a gap, and that gap can be only filled with these kind of organized events. Otherwise, this exposure gap remains for. I think a number of. I just saw the participant list. I see one of my students here. I think 2 of my students who have done their PhDs with me.
Right, there are students there from JNU. I think Stefan might be there. You have Pausi might be there. So they are all JNU students only. They are working here. One of them, Stefan, is in Bangalore, and Pausi is guest lecturer in one of the colleges in Kerala only, Department of Geography. Then there might be more. Lots of students from JNU also have registered. So those who are research scholars, no? So they are also there.
They join also.
Right. So shall we start, sir?
Yes, we can.
Right. So I'll just ask my 2 of my students are there who will be doing the intros. So and we'll proceed with the. So there is no formal inauguration kind of a things and all, because this has been going on for quite some time now. So we directly go to the speaker. So I'll just ask my students to introduce you and first give an introduction about the webinar and then start the. Suparna.
Good evening, Krishnan sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Suparna, can we start?
So start ചെയ്തോട്ടെ.
Started. Right.
Good evening to all and welcome to Emerging Discourse in Geography webinar series. This is the 7th webinar in the series. As COVID-19 has completely curtailed the offline classes, this is an initiative of Department of Geography at Government College Chittoor, Palakkad, Kerala, to create research awareness among students through webinar series. One of the best way to expose them to interdisciplinary research and also to guide them for their higher studies and career opportunities. The webinar is organized on all Saturday, 5 to 6 p.m. with about 100 plus participants in both Zoom platform and Facebook Live. The participants include students of UG, PG programs, research scholars, faculties, and professionals from India and abroad. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome the resource person for today's webinar, Dr. Krishnendra Meena, Associate Professor, Center of International Politics, Organization and Disarmament, School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University. I also take this opportunity to welcome all the faculty members and students of Department of Geography, Government College, Chittoor. I also welcome faculty members, professionals, research scholars, and students from various other colleges across India. Once again, I welcome one and all. Now let me welcome my friend Ms. Suparna to introduce today's resource person to you. Thank you.
Good evening to all. We have an expert resource person today, Dr. Krishnendra Meena. Dr. Meena has research and teaching experience at the Center for International Politics, Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Of more than 15 years, he completed both Masters and MPhil from JNU. He holds a PhD from JNU on the topic British Geostrategic Perspectives on the Southern Atlantic Region, which he was awarded in 2012. Areas of his research interest include geopolitics, borders, Indian Ocean region, and BRICS. Dr. Meena has authored a number of publications related to his research interest at a leading peer-reviewed international journals and books. He also has authored a book titled British Geopolitics in the South Atlantic. The book deals with the South Atlantic oceanic space and the reasons for British presence there. He has publications highlighting India's geopolitics in the Indian Ocean region and the Indo-Pacific. Dr. Meena regularly contributes with opinion pieces to the web magazine Logmark on issues of Indian Ocean geopolitics and the regional geopolitics of South Asia. Dr. Krishnendra Meena has taught courses on the concept and the issues in geopolitics, the ocean and the political geography, both at the master's and the MPhil level. He has supervised 13 PhD students and 25 MPhil students on topics in geopolitics and the political geography during his tenure at the university. Dr. Meena participated in a number of research projects as director or the co-director on topics related to areas of his interest. Notable among them have been ICSSR project titled India's Regional Relations in a Transitioning World, Policies, Priorities and the Practices, which focused on India's geopolitics in its immediate neighborhood. Another project titled Border Theory and Globalization, Perspectives from the South, funded by the University Grants Commission at JNU, highlighted the inadequacy of the Western theoretical strand to understand the issues related to India's borders with its neighbors. Currently, he is a part of an international team of researchers evaluating the impact of COVID-19 on borders. The survey is being done online. He has been an active member of international collaborative research networks. Prominent among them are the Managing Global Governance Program of the German Development Institute at Bonn, Germany, wherein he conducted a study on the geopolitics of Antarctica in 2009. He attended a training program, International Futures, at the German Institute for Global and Area Studies in the same year. He was advisor at the Oikos International, Switzerland for 2 years, from 2010 to 2012. Dr. Meena has been a visiting fellow at the BRICS Policy Center, Rio de Janeiro. Dr. Meena is a member of the international academic bodies, namely Association of Borderland Studies, International Critical Geography Group, and the Academic Council, Indian Studies Program, State University of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He is a member of National Advisory Council, Center for Human Security Studies, Hyderabad. He is a visiting faculty at the Center for Development Studies, Shimla. He was a Deputy Director of Admission at the JNU for 2 years, from 2017 to 2019. And not only that, Dr. Meena has traveled extensively for conferences related to areas of his interest in India and abroad. So we can sum up that we are getting an extreme and honorable guest in front of us. So let me call upon Dr. Krishnendra Meena sir to start the session. Please, sir.
Thank you very much for this generous introduction. And it is a pleasure to be joining this very important webinar series. And as a geographer, one would like to contribute to such events, such events and such ventures, because that allows for me, it's a personal achievement in the sense that it allows me to speak to young scholars from around the country. And it is I can only thank Mr. Govindan Kutty to having me here as a speaker, because as I do not know what does he think of me, but may I not be as qualified as to be speaking on major issues of emerging issues in geography and topics like that. But nonetheless, I'll like to contribute a little bit from my side to this event, and plus to this ongoing understanding of geography and how does it interact with its other disciplines, and how does it fare amongst itself in the sub-disciplines which it has. We are all aware that as geographers, most of us, I think, in the room are geographers, and we are all aware that political geography is a field in human geography. And we also know that it deals with certain kind of issues, and most prominently it has been understood to be dealing with large, grand theorization, which involves geostrategy, right? So perhaps I will try to dispel those notions that political geography deals with only those. But apart from that, I'll also try to make that connection between geography and political science, and more specifically, geography and international relations. So I'll begin with a little bit of a critique of what political scientists do not learn from geography. And then I'll try and explain where have they interacted, and if they have interacted, what have been the lacuna in this interaction. And in the later part of the lecture, as has been asked, I'll try and interact with as many of you can as I can, in the sense that, and try to tell you some opportunities which are there in this field of political geography, and the link between, if you could establish the link between geography and international relations, where can it take you? Okay, so okay. The first aspect, as I said, that there will be a little critique of political science and what it has not learned from geography. One is that political scientists treat space as uniform. So whenever they speak of any event, any phenomenon at a particular place, on a particular time, they speak of it as if it is happening on a space which is uniform, without highlighting the differences that are there between places, and thereby these creation of that those unique characteristics that are there in a particular space, in that sense, are ignored. And how do they contribute to those particular events and phenomena that happen on a particular place? That link is missed out just because political scientists treat space as uniform, whereas as geographers, we know that that is not the case. Space is made up of a number of places, myriads of places, and they all have their specific aspects to contribute, not only geographical aspects, but human aspects are also there, which transform that particular geography and which causes these events and phenomena. Second, the focus for political scientists is solely on processes. Again, they miss out on the processes, the institutional processes, that is, whereby a lot of decision making and the implementation part of decisions is there. but they miss out on the impact or the impact of these decisions and how these decisions are shaped by or processes are shaped by the presence of geography. How these institutional processes, how these decisions, how these number of activities which the state does, for example, or any other institution does. It can be a non-governmental organization, it can be a multinational organization or multinational corporation. They carry out certain processes, but miss out on the aspect of how these processes and decisions carried out by them have an impact on space or geography. Third, the context of any event, as has been said in the earlier 2 points also, the context for a particular event or phenomenon is provided by its geography. And in this case, when I use the term context, it is not only geography which I am referring to, but I am also referring to the historical context of it. Both geographical context, geography and history make the context for that larger event. It is not that an event suddenly occurs at a particular place. It has to have some story. Even in the case of, say, physical events or events in, say, geomorphology or earthquakes or things like that, there has been built up on a particular geography or historical time period, and that is the context in which that earthquake occurs. Similarly, events which are happening in the international system, they have both this temporal as well as geographical dimension to it, spatial dimension to it, right? So that context is missed out. For example, when we treat the international, we'll come to that later in the remaining slides also, but to give you a short example, when we treat states in the international system, when we, as the most important actors, we look at them only in their present forms, and most of the times ignoring their geographical and historical context through the process which have shaped the processes, and those processes have led to the representation of the state in its current form. So those processes are forgotten, but we use that the present state, the present image of the state to as an international actor in the international system. Right? Fourth is geographical imaginaries go a very, very long way in deciding what our politics is, what our understandings of the other is, what our understanding of, say, in the context of international studies, we can say that geographical imaginaries are very, very important in defining, for example, for India, what does Indian Ocean mean to us? Or what does the neighborhood means to us? What does South Asia mean to us? What does Asia mean to us? Whether it is towards the east or towards the west. So those imaginaries go a long way in informing our political decisions that we make and informing our geopolitics that we carry out in the international system. But those geographical imaginaries are largely forgotten when in political science. And this is not a critique, but I think this is in many ways evaluation of political sciences. Political sciences lack of engagement with geography, and more specifically political geography. Now, if we look at political geography, because that is the important task, that is the important field which interacts with IR at its best. Right? If we look at the normal definition, or if we try to define what is political geography, I think this should be a very easy answer. And this is what we come to normally, that these are political studies which are carried out by geographers. That is the important part of it. That though the studies are political or maybe carried out on the investigation may be about a political event, but it is carried out by geographers. And we use the techniques and ideas associated with spatial perspectives. So what is important is spatial perspectives and the techniques and ideas which are geographical in nature. right? Which have a specific connotation of space. So that is what political geography is to a layman's understanding. But we can also look at a few definitions. If we go back to Richard Hartshorne and in his 1930s definition, we find that he says that there is this variation of political phenomena from place to place in interconnection with variations in other features of the earth as a home of man. Right? So there are two important parts to it in this definition, that we are looking at the political phenomena, right? And we are looking at this political phenomena where how does it vary from place to place. So that aspect of treating space as uniform in terms of the various political phenomena which are happening upon it is largely covered, because he's saying he's specifying a simple fact that there is a variation of political phenomena from place to place, which means space is not uniform. Right? So that is his very logical understanding of political geography. And then we know that Association of American Geographers is one of the foremost bodies to deliberate on geography in general. And it also time to time comes up with these definitions of various aspects in geography, various important definitions of geography. And they define political geography as the study of interaction of geographical area and political aspects. So again, politics is given due importance. Whereas in any branch of political science, you will not find this kind of an importance being given to other disciplines. Right? That has not happened. Then we have Kevin R. Cox's definition, which is more contemporary, who says that it should be defined in terms of its key concepts. And this is, I think, more related to the political science part of political geography, or political part of geography. He says that the key concepts of political geography are territory and district. And now we know that how important is territory for the state, in the international system, and how important is the state to occupy this territory, to expand this territory, to govern this territory, and to organize this territory in its various forms. We know that our entities are defined by these two important aspects of our political life, territory and state. And both of them have this specific geographic character. So that's its Kevin R. Cox's definition. Let us look at two more definitions and then we'll move further. John Agnew argues that political geography is the study of how politics is informed by geography. That is quite a fair thing to say, because politics is informed by geography. That is decided, that is understood, that is established. But the lacune is that it has not been appreciated much. How this information comes from geography and how politics is informed by geography, that aspect has not been covered enough in research. So, but nonetheless, I think this is the most important and most succinct definition, concise and precise definition of political geography. And we should take it as a standard to actually make the link between political science and geography also. Then there is this definition by Joe Painter, who says that, but this comes from a larger, we also must know that there is this philosophical discourse about philosophical ideas of Michel Foucault have played a very important role in how we understand various disciplines or various social sciences. So Joe Painter follows that kind of an argument, and he says that it is a discourse or a body of knowledge that produces particular imaginations, understandings about the world. But there is a lot of internal debate, the adoption of new ideas and dynamic boundaries. So this is what political geography is for me. Again, internal debate means politics. Again, evolutionary adoption of new ideas means politics. And The expansion of these boundaries means, in the international system, if we look at it, we find that the boundaries are dynamic. These boundaries are dynamic, and that causes boundaries are dynamic because we have known throughout the history that state boundaries have not remained constant. They have been changing. And there have been efforts by a number of, but almost all states to change their boundaries. And that we are still witnessing in the case of Eastern Ladakh by China. Right? We know that Russia changed its boundaries in 2014 when it occupied Crimea. So they are bound, they are dynamic, and that causes a lot of politics, that causes a lot of geopolitics, which is again a field started by political geopolitics. Okay. If we were the earlier part was more about the larger interactions with between geography and international relations. But now look at these specific pointed instances where geography and international relations are interacting. And as we move into the next slides, we'll find that how do they interact. These are the 5 important aspects where we can locate the interaction between politics and political science in geography or geography and IR. You can specifically point that out, that these are the points where there is this interaction. So space, we have spoken about it already. Place, there was mention of it. Scale, we'll come to that. Environment and territory. These are the 5 specific aspects where the interaction is more prominently visible between these two disciplines in social sciences. So now let us first look at space, right? We know that a very important part, of our international system is transport. A very important part of our international system is spatialization, right? So we know that for certain kinds of specializations, there are certain nodes in the international system. So we know that there is a particular part of the world which produces most of world's oil, right? Oil and natural gas. So that is one particular. Then we know that there are certain manufacturing nodes in the international system. The northeastern seaboard of the United States, Western Europe, China being the new manufacturing node, Japan being another, right? So we know these particular nodes. And we know that there are these industrial hubs. Plus we know that there are important, if we become more specific at looking at these industries, we'll find that there are these different modes for automobile manufacturing. There are these modes for textile manufacturing. We will know that there are these modes for manufacture of, different parts of spacecraft, or there are these nodes which manufacture ships, right? So these nodes are located in the international system, and they are connected to each other through their economic logic, through their economic and commercial logic, right? So those connections we can easily locate those connections if we follow the transactions of all kinds which happen there, maybe exchange of parts, assembly lines which import certain part of an automobile and assemble it at a particular place. So it will have that connection, and it will these nodes will be connecting with each other, and will therefore create these networks, right? So I just spoke of an example about the automobile industry. So for example, Volkswagen, the German company, now has a plant in Pune. I'm not sure whether it is actually there in Pune, but let us take this as an example. So Pune has this facility where they are assembling these cars, but they are importing the engine from Germany. They are importing, say, the windshield or the wiper or the bulbs from China. They are importing, say, the larger chassis or the body structure from Japan or some other part of the world. But this creates this network for that particular manufacturer of this automobile or this assembly of this automobile in Pune. So it creates these networks, and these networks do not only exist in the economic sense or even only in the manufacturing world or in the industrial world only, but there are multiple kinds of networks. For example, financial networks. And now there is this, one can cite an example of a political network in which the location of participants is very, very disparate in nature. BRICS is one example. Though we know that we are still not clear about the goals of the BRICS, we are still thinking of BRICS as a very as a grouping only in its nascent stage, but nonetheless it creates this network of emerging economies, the so-called emerging economies, which have benefited from this current phase of globalization, right? But they are located in 4 continents: Russia, China, India, South Africa, and Brazil. Located in 4 continents, but they still have this network which they create in the political system, right? We can cite more examples of the network. We know that there are these huge pipelines which run from Eastern Europe and further from Russia into Europe and Western Europe, providing natural gas and oil to various developed economies of Western Europe. So that is one kind of pipeline. We know that there are a number of pipelines which run from West Asia towards the Mediterranean shore in Jordan, in Lebanon, and Israel, and on the Mediterranean ports, and then this oil is supplied to various countries in Europe and Western Europe. So these networks exist. All kinds of networks are there which exist. There is this network of raw material, extraction of raw material from Africa and then distributed across many parts of it. So this is very, very important to know that there are networks, and space is composed, in the context of the international, is composed of these nodes, networks. And the third part, which is perhaps the most, okay, let me also remind us of the most important networks now governing our lives: the internet, the international network of connectivity, which is that also has some physical dimension to it. The internet cables run. There is this network of internet cables which run below the sea surface. Then the most prominent aspect of space in the international system, in international relations is territories. And we know that states defend their territories even at the cost of the lives of their country, even at the cost of the lives of their populations. So all states have territories in the international system, and states still are the most important interlocutors in the international system. And it is this division of space into various political entities called states is what we know as territories. States actually govern their territories. States actually establish their sovereignty over these territories, and it is the recognition of this fact that a state is sovereign over this particular territory by the international community is very, very instrumental in how international relations are done. And all these state territories have a very, very definite geographical dimension, that they are located on a land surface. And now increasingly we know that through this system of exclusive economic zones, states have enlarged their territories. Their rights are enlarged into the sea as well, for 200 nautical miles from their coastal districts. So territories are expanded, and those territories are sacrosanct for space, for the states, and that is a very important dimension of space that the states occupy. Right, and we know that there are more than 200 states recognized by the United Nations, and all of them have their own territories. And according to a very recent data, only 44% of the Earth and sea surface, that is, including the seas, is remaining as high seas, because almost all land is actually claimed by one state party or the other. But only 44% of the high seas remains as high seas. Rest of it is occupied as a part of the exclusive economic zone of one country. So that is what space means to people in international relations. But nonetheless, they're still not appreciated much by political science. Now we come to the second element, that is place. This focuses on making. Let us keep it more simple and just speak about regions. Right? In the context of the international system, international relations, international studies, regions have become a very, very important part. And earlier, it used to be only the regionalization on the basis of security, but now this regionalization has become more and more important, extremely important, because of the simple fact that the regionalization is coming on the basis of economic activities in the international system. All of us as geographers, we have studied in graduation and post-graduation that regions exist. The regions are geographical features which are largely considered in the context of, say, they are considered to be regions and they do not prescribe to these state boundaries. Right? They do not are ascribing to these state boundaries. But and these regions can be very, very at the level of the subnational. Some regions are the geographical regions, that is the physical regionalization that we have known. Some regions are supranational, or they extend over boundaries. For example, the Sundarbans. Then there can be other regional entities which have supranational character. So that is how we have understood regions. But in the context of the international, there are two aspects of it. That same supranational region, which actually has, or transnational region, which exists in two or more than two states, causes different kinds of politics. So the same place, though it is one place owing to its unique features, the regions have been that they have unique features. Right? And those features, if they are divided into various entities by these political boundaries, then they cause a lot of problems. On the other hand, states come together to create these regions for cooperation, for common goals, common interests. They come together to create these larger regions, right, in the international system. But it is also important for us to understand that places do not have only this physical dimension, or their visible aspect is not important, but it is also important that how people who occupy them and how people who occupy them are represented, and how they interact with these places and carry out, or they in many ways identify themselves with their interactions with these particular places, and that plays a very, very important role in defining their identities. So places are infused in human. Now, I would go to the extent of saying that they are infused in human psyche. Our identities, our life experiences have an important bearing or an important influence of places in it. Apart from that, apart from the fact that people identify, or we identify ourselves as, say, coming to one part of the country or the other, right? We easily identify ourselves on the basis of, say, coming from a particular state, say, coming from Maharashtra, coming from Rajasthan, coming from Arunachal, or coming from Tamil Nadu, or things like that. But it is important for us to realize that those places also play a very, very fundamental role in defining who we are. So our entities have an imprint of places. And those entities, that understanding of place goes on into the making of how we interact in the international system also. Further, I think most of it in what is there in these this slide I have already mentioned. But now let us take an example about how, I guess all of you are also aware of the fact of this system of geographical indicators through which a number of goods and commodities are identified, or specific products are identified, as if whereas they are coming from a particular part of the world, particular geography of the world, particular place, particular region, right? And that is now established, and that allows, if one particular commodity is identified with a particular number, particular geographical indicator, which means that it is specific to that part, and it has this specific it has those specific features which occur to this particular commodity because it is grown or it is produced in a certain part of it. That is how important places are. We can cite a number of examples. We always remember this very controversial case of Basmati being the patent of Basmati being appropriated by a firm in Texas, United States. But the fact that the Basmati rice belongs to a certain part in India, that was recognized by the arbitrating bodies. Then we have certain kinds of wine, certain kinds of cheese, and certain kinds of other manufacturers which have these specific regional qualities. And they are all built upon the resources which humans realize from their physical landscape. That leaves a deep imprint, and those factors, that particular link with place plays a very, very important role in the international system. We'll come back to regions in later slides, but this is to specify the importance of place. We can identify places on the basis of these few factors. For example, language. We know that in the context of India, we have divided, our states are divided on the basis of language. Then there are certain parts of the world where certain religion is prominent, right? Then we know that the household and family structures are of a certain kind in certain parts of the world. We can look at, for example, in the case of language, we can look at the Europeans. The Germans speak German, the French speak French, and that remains their primary language. Dutch speak Dutch, or similarly, the Spaniards speak Spanish, Portuguese speak their own language. So linguistic identities play a very, very important role. We know that there are certain, if we follow sociologists carefully, you will find that there are certain parts of the world in which family structures are of different kinds. For example, in many states in the Northeast, opposed to patriarchy in the larger larger India, we find that in many parts of Northeast we have the matriarchal system, right? Even in central India, we find some certain structures, certain family structures in which matriarchy is the norm. Right? We also have different kinds of land ownership arrangements which go on to play an important role in how we understand our places. Certain arts belong to not only part of the world, but certain specific kind of art forms belong to certain parts of, in the context of India, we can talk of, say, Madhubani paintings. We can talk of music. We can think of different gharanas which are there. They produce their own kinds of music. Similarly, in arts, we can look at paintings and different kinds of sculptures and different kinds of other articles which are produced. They have their imprint of place. And at the same time, these artifacts, these musical systems make an impact in the international also, at the level of the international also. So these are a few, this is not an exhaustive list, of course, but provides some, at least some examples and some ways to understand place. Then we come to scale. Again, as geographers, we know that common usage is for geographic common usage of is geographic scale or cartographic scale, and which is, as geographers we understand, we use certain markers to represent certain kind of to represent certain distances on the ground. We represent them through this scale. That is the simple cartographic scale which we have. But there are these three other scales also, which are very, very important in political science, at least in international politics and international relations. One is, and this is from Peter Taylor that I have appropriated. One is scale of experience. Humans interact not only, they do not experience at the level of the globe, they interact at the level of the local. Our experiences are born of our interactions daily, or in some cases they may be say very few interactions over a period of time, but our interactions come only because we interact with our localities, our place, our surroundings, right? So that is the scale of experience which Peter Taylor has marked and such. We call it politically as local, and because we believe in these divisions of local, global. Then the scale of reality, because we also know that our reality of humans, the reality is global. Rest of it is creation of humans. Rest the political divisions in the international system, the territorial system, they are all divisions created by humans. They are all artificial. Reality is that we all belong to one particular planet called the Earth, and the globe is the reality for us. Even if we look at it in terms of political, geographical terms, globe is the understanding that we should have. That is the reality. Then he says the nation is the scale of justification. We belong to, as we have been speaking about space, we belong to certain territories defined very, very clearly in this system, international system. We have all these boundaries, territorial boundaries, but we are justifications for appropriating resources from this particular territory, which we have known as a nation or a particular state, comes from the simple fact that that territory is occupied politically. And we many times say that we are using this particular resource in this territory because it belongs to us. It belongs to us means that it lies in a particular territory governed by a particular state apparatus, which is known by a particular name. So that justification is coming from nation or the state. If we look at now at this point, we can also say that we are looking at it more in terms of political divisions of the world. Local is again the scale of we know that we interact with it in daily, and now increasingly we find that in international studies, in IR, it is increasingly becoming fashionable to highlight the local, and from that draw generalizations for larger world. To understand the local more deeply, more intricately, and to make generalizations about the larger world. This theorization also is now replete with instances replete with empiricism, wherein people have dealt with local issues, conducted extensive and intensive field surveys, and have made generalizations. Right? Then we know that the scale of the national is it's the most important scale, not only from a perspective of a human being, but it is also important for any researcher, because all states, all events have this specific dimension. Even individuals have this specific dimension wherein they like to call themselves as nationals of a particular country, nationals of a particular belonging to a particular part. We have these passport systems. All of us come from a certain region. That is the scale which is perhaps the most important. And as has been said earlier, states, nations are the most important interlocutors in the international system, more specifically in international politics. Then we know that we spoke about regions earlier also, but there are a number of regions in the international system. We, in the case of South Asia, know that our regionalization effort in SAARC has almost failed in South Asia, but there are other regions, for example, ASEAN, which are doing really well, NAFTA, which is doing really well, then there is Mercosur doing really well. Mercosur is Mercado Común del Sur, which is the South Asian Common Community, South American Common Market, right? European Union is doing extremely well. So these supranational organizations, and all of them have this international dimension plus this geographical dimension because they are composed of these states which are geographically contiguous. It is only a few instances like the BRICS wherein these common conventional understandings of regions have been broken or have been overcome. Then we again have the global scale. In political geography, we know that we have had these global grand geostrategic theories, Be it Mackinder, be it Spikeman, be it Alfred Thayer Mahan, Seversky, they have all looked at the globe and said this is in the globe. If one particular state wants to occupy or to dominate the globe, this is how it should do it. They have provided these roadmaps for global domination. So all these and superpowers, and all countries aspire to be superpowers. I think there are only a few of them which are not able to actually visualize themselves into superpowers. But most of the states which have the capability, they think of themselves as global superpowers. They want to dominate the globe. They want to impact global decision making. They want to impact global strategy. They want to be present everywhere. Right? So this is what. This is why scales are important, and politics is conducted at all the scales. It is not only at the national scale, but it is conducted at every scale. That is very, very important. Now we come to environment. We know that environment has many meanings in everyday usage, but in this context, it is about the Earth's surface, subsurface, and atmosphere, and which is the basis for all life. Right? So that is the basic environment we are speaking of here. Sorry, it is the foundation. Otherwise, on which places are built and spaces organized. That is what environment is. If we organize ourselves, we build our places on within this environment. The environment, either directly or indirectly, is source of all resources, all kinds of resources, vegetable, animal, and mineral resources, and we thrive on we are able to live on this planet only because of these resources. These resources are unevenly distributed in the international system, which causes politics, which causes geographical politics, because they are distributed unevenly on the face of the planet. And the aim of all humankind is to gain access to these resources as much as possible, as quick as possible, as quickly as possible. Right? And this is what is causing a lot of competition. This has led to a lot of politics on not for politics or for environment, politics for resources, which in turn has led to this environmental degradation and thereby a new kind of politics has emerged, which is concerned with the environment itself. Though the environment provides us with so many things, we are now deliberating on the condition of environment. That is, and we can further take it to a little specific level when we say that there is this international competition of resources. If you want to link it with the international relations aspect, as geographers, we know that what environment is. That is one of the important parts of our study in geography, right? But we know that there is this international competition for resources, which is causing these problems in the environment, which is causing changes, which is causing all kinds of transformations in this environment, which is and which is important to understand. And it causes a lot of competition. It causes all kinds of politics. And we have seen this politics at an extreme level to the extent of going to wars in West Asia over the resource of oil. Now there are different kinds of other conflicts which go on, for example, and they are more sophisticated in nature. For example, extracting from the biodiverse areas around the world for production of medicine, different kinds of medicine. Right? Then there is this politics to it, because the states where these biodiverse areas are located are not the states where these industrial production of these medicines is happening. So there is this gap, and there is this debate about it, to whom these biodiversity hotspots belong. Okay, we move further and look at how environmental issues have increasingly become more and more political. They have become why there is so much of political attention to it in the international system. These issues were not at all important before the 1970s. They were hardly considered important. It was not serious enough before the 1970s. But very interestingly, most of our concern comes from when the West is concerned about a certain issue. Though we know that there have been movements of all environmental movements in India's historical past. Many examples are there where concern for specific trees, specific animals has led to conflicts, has led to loss of blood in the international system. In the Indian context. But we realize that is the irony of the system, that whosoever controls the larger resources is the one who controls knowledge resources. And when they deem it fit that it is a problem which is serious enough to be concerned, then only this is considered to be a serious problem. Otherwise, that particular aspect remains sidelines. Right? For example, in the case of the United States, there was this specific book which awakened people of the United States about the problems that are there in the United States relating to environment. There was this book by this author called Rachel Carson. She wrote a book called The Silent Spring, in which she looked at how fertilizers are entering the food chain of not only birds but also of humans. And that it was a bestseller during the 60s, early 60s. And that led to some kind of awareness in the United States. And once the United States became aware of these issues, the whole world had to become aware. But still, till the 1990s, there was less concern for these things. 1992 Rio Earth Summit is basically the landmark summit for environment, which caused the UNEP, organized by the UNEP, that caused this attention towards environment. We know that in the 1990s, there were these three kind of, the focus on environmental issues was of three ways. One was that its extensiveness, the geographical reach of the environmental issues was realized, that they are not local, but their reach is on the globe. So the ozone hole was one example, the impact it could have caused. Planet was an example. Then the intensity of these problems, because of the rampant exploitation over the centuries of these resources, was considered to be serious only during the 1990s. earlier it was thought that we should keep on aggregating and appropriating from the nature, from the earth, as much as we want. But this now is turning to be very, very harmful. That was realized. Plus, the velocity of these problems, these environmental issues, the speed and development of that because of this exploitation over the last 300-400 years, plus the current rate at which these were being exploited was very, very fast. And it was harming the environment at an alarming. That was the realization. It was also realized that these problems, which are there are two kinds of major problems: global, international in scale, for example, greenhouse warming. And then there were these local problems, for example, loss of biodiversity, but they were both very much interrelated. Now we come to territory. Sorry. We know that it is a bounded social space that has a certain meaning. It is defined on the. It is this meaning is relevant for certain segments of the material. This segmentation, this creation of boundaries, this creation of territorial sovereignties creates this differentiation between an inside and an outside. So the basics, but it is important to also for us to know that it is about a line, it is about certain space, there is a certain meaning, and then there is certain some state of affairs within that space. That is the basic of these are the basics of territory. Right? So a line can divide, a line if it is removed can unite these spaces. But it is important for us to know that the spaces which are occupied by these particular states have a certain meaning because these meanings are rooted in geography of that particular space and in particular histories. That context comes only from this lengthy association, long association with a particular place around which this line has been created, around which this border, this line, this boundary has been created. These spaces, these places gain meaning only with this deep interaction with this particular landmass, with this particular territory. Now it can be not only on the land, but oceanic territories are also. The meanings come in the form of extraction of resources. The meanings come in the form of extraction, not only, but tilling of land, for example, or creating these economic activities, or these social customs that are rooted in this particular job. Right? And above them, there is this state apparatus, which is, there are these state institutions which govern this. So all of this create this territory. Territory becomes territory, or an area becomes territory when power is infused. So this is this state of affairs here means that there is this state power is infused in this particular area, and that is how it becomes territory. Because with the infusion of that particular aspect of life, the power, we can actually make that distinction. One can actually make that distinction between area and territory, because with power, the state can influence, affect the activities that are there, the relations which are there within this particular space, and the kind of economic activities which can come in or which can go out of this. Power is essentially political science. Power is essentially a concept which is very, very dear to our political science friends, and it is an important part of politics. And territory is a very tangible geographical manifestation of the power. In our case, in political geography, in international relations, states are the ones which hold power of these respective territories. Now, again, a little bit of a critique of IR, which is by this very famous political geographer, John Edney, who says that there are three, IR suffers from this territorial trap. The study of international relations is suffering from this trap called the territorial trap. Right? He says that this comes in three ways. Says state territories have been reified as set or fixed units of sovereign space. So, as I was saying, that we'll come back to this context part of it. This is the context part of it. If you look at a lot of literature in the international studies on IR, we find that state territories are referred to in their present context. Their historical context, how these states or how these states have come to occupy these particular territories is lost in the simple assertion that we are dealing with a particular territory in its present form, because those histories have, and that interaction between land, that interaction between territory, and that number of conflicts and number of wars that have taken place over that particular territory to occupy that particular territory are lost when we speak of the territory in its particular context. And we think of those territories as fixed units of sovereign space in the present context. Whereas that has not been the case. They have been changing their shape, size, extent, this expands historically over long periods of time. Now, to refer to India in its present form that is to give an example, it's a problematic thing in this way, because India's history stretches back more than 2,000, 2,500 years as we know of it, and probably more than that. But what we know India of today is the India which has this deep colonial imprint, which occurred for 300 to 400 years. But on the other hand, we also are aware that the India which we know in its present form, its territory in its present form, is existing since 1947. But then what about the history that has been there? That is all lost upon. So that context is lost by the IR scholars when they conduct their research, when they speak of these states, when they treat states in their studies or in their understandings of the large information system. Second, the second assumption of geographical assumption of IR journalists or IR in general is that they assume that the use of these domestic, foreign, and national international polarities that serves to obscure the interaction between processes operating at different scales. We spoke about it. So, that we normally think of the international system as existing in binaries of domestic, foreign, national, international, inside, outside, self, other, right? Us, them. That is the main driving logic of our interactions in the international system. But then, apart from that, there are other scales. We just looked at them. Then there are other scales of local, then further at the level of the supranational, where a number of states come together, or there are, even if they do not come together, there are these events which are not governed by particular state boundaries. They have this overbearing presence. Sometimes it is natural calamities, but other times it is also these concerns for environment, concerns for climate change, concerns from what will sustainable development. They also have this scale. These scales are not rooted in, though they are rooted in nations or nation states, but their interactions are, for example, a number of countries come together to deliberate as developing countries, in the debate on environment, right? In in WTO, the debate on trade in WTO. G77 is an example. So there are political processes which operate, for example, in G7 or G20. These processes are operating at different scales. We know that there is this global scale. Then the last assumption he says, which is geographical in nature, that the territorial state has been viewed as existing prior to and as a container of society. So it is when we refer to states in IR, we refer to them as if these states came first and the societies came later. So we speak of a German society, we speak of a Chinese society, or a Japanese society, or an Australian society, as if the states which are there created the society. Whereas the fact is that it is the societies which created these states. Society came first. Even in the context of larger historical debate about state and society, we'll find that societies came first and states came later. The political entity came later, where the sociological entity of society was earlier. But when we speak of society, that is, speak of about one particular society, say South African society or Brazilian society, or look at any other part of the world, not American society or Mexican society, we think of it as if it is existing, a state is existing prior to the society which we are referring to. Second problem that is again related to this is that we think of states as containers of society. Right? There is again a problem, because do states contain society? They do not. Does Indian society live only on this territory called India? No, that is not. We increasingly are now asserting that another India or a huge Indian population lives in the United States, which is again a part of they feel themselves as part of this Indian society. A huge population lives in the Gulf. They are part of the Indian society. So, but when we think of, when we use these terms, we forget those people who think of the NRIs or a number of other overseas Indians. They are also part of this society, which are often forgotten while being referred to in the literature in IR or literature in in general in international politics. The states have been given as containers of society, but that is not the case. Societies are not contained in state territories. Societies are increasingly becoming transnational in nature. Now, so these were the 5 aspects where we can have deliberated. But if we look at the interaction at a more simpler level, we can find these 2 triangles of politics and geography, and we find that there is, in this case, we are ignoring geographical dimensions of scale and environment, those elements, but we are trying to relate how, and that is the larger, we assume that space is actually consuming or actually overbearing on environment as well as scale, but this is what the picture is. If we think that, if we assume that both scale and environment are parts of space, then we find this. On the one hand, we have power, politics, and policy, and on the other, in geography, we have space, place, and time. And it is, they are not, these triangles are not corresponding, which doesn't mean that power and space are at the same place. They can interchange their positions. That is just to represent that there are these 3 elements on both sides which form political geography. Space, place, and territory from geography, and power, politics, and policy from politics. In essence, it is power which causes politics, and it's politics which leads to acceptance and creation of these policies and implementation of these policies over certain places, spaces, and territories. So this is Okay, now a very elementary aspect of this I always like to highlight because of the simple fact that you will not find this differentiation very easy in the books or in any video. Political geography and geopolitics can be differentiated, and this is to differentiate only on 3 grounds. One is that, which is not written here, but which is actually inherent here, that geopolitics is a sub-discipline in political geography. It's one part of political geography. But if we look at political geography in general, it is more concerned about distribution, whereas geopolitics is concerned more about location. So it is distribution of various phenomena on the face of the planet, which is more important, which is more of concern, which is more studied in political geography, with all kinds of resources. But when we come to geopolitics, it is about location and how it causes politics in the international system. In the system, that is important. How situation of a particular event, phenomenon, how situation of a particular place has an impact on the politics which is there in the system. Political geography is concerned with all the scales, as we have been seeing, global, regional, national, and local. Whereas geopolitics concerns itself with international and global. This is the larger difference between what we know of political geography and geopolitics. I will stop here and will be more than happy to answer questions. I'll stop sharing and log out.
Thank you, sir. I'll request all the participants, those who are interested in asking questions, to unmute and ask questions, or else they can post their questions in the chat box so that we can read through. Sir, anyway, I'll start with one question. So we have these international associations now, like a formation of allies, NATO and such kind of ally formations, though they may not, I don't know whether they are still that powerful as of now, because new formations are there. But this also has to be viewed as a new territory creation.
No, they are not territorial creations, but the state territories come together to create this these organizations, and they are based in security. But let us also understand that their coming together or their creation is an act which is very geopolitical in nature, and I'll explain why. Because the location of states which are part of the NATO was directed at initially during the Cold War at the Soviet Union. Right? So all the NATO states were, which were largely Western European states, which felt and which were located around the Soviet Union, thereby creating this kind of an encirclement and containment of the Soviet Union. So their motive was largely geopolitical in nature. It was a certain kind of geographical politics which was being played out through NATO. And there are now these calls about new NATO. But before we go to the new NATO, let us look at this term called Indo-Pacific and the Quad, these two important features. We'll find that the countries which have taken up this idea of Indo-Pacific very enthusiastically, this is not to critique them, but who have accepted this idea as part of their system, as part of their international understanding are countries which are located at certain points. For example, Japan, Australia, India. These are three important actors in the international system who have actually subscribed to this idea very readily. Their locations do ring for us as geographers, because we can look at the map and we can think that it may be aimed at certain kind of encirclement of a particular state. And now look at the further, a more political entity, Quad, the quadrilateral dialogue, which started as a response to the events after tsunami. Right? So the ideas were humanitarian assistance during the tsunami, and later on it became an organization to help states in distress during these natural calamities. But now it is gradually transforming its nature, its orientation, and becoming a organization which will be more concerned with security in the years. I think that answers your question.
Yes, sir. I think there was someone has asked one question, I think, in the chat box. What is the difference between space and place? That's the question that has been posted by Kanai Paul. Right.
It's very important. We know that space, though we can take it to a philosophical level also, but nonetheless we should keep it simple. Space, as we know, can be understood in three ways, but let us keep it as a larger. Space is a larger entity. Space is made up of multiple things. Space is made up of not only of the absolute dimensions that we know of length, breadth, height, volume. That is the geometrical space, Euclidean space. But if even if you take that to be a space which can be measurable, which is measurable, we can locate place as a point in any point in space is place. But those definitions of point keep on changing. If we are looking at the globe and we are pinpointing at a place, so for example, cities on a globe may be located as points. But if we enlarge that particular space, that particular globe, if we go on to these large scale maps, we'll find that that city will enlarge itself, and then particular locations within that particular area, within certain neighborhoods could become points. Right? So it is very relative also. It is relational also, space. In the sense that though we understand space largely, we interact with space, we are products of our space, but our experiences come from specific places. Our interactions has come from very, very local places. I hope this makes it clear for you.
I hope so.
Thank you, sir.
Any other? Yeah, please ask.
Thank you, sir. I have got it.
Anyone
Thank you,
else?
sir.
Okay. Anyone else who wants to ask? Please unmute yourself and ask.
Okay.
Sir, let me put another question to you, sir. One thing is with regard to if someone is interested in learning, someone who has done geography or some other subject maybe, who wants to enter into this particular field of international relations, do their graduation or higher studies in that. So what is the opportunity here?
First and foremost, I would suggest that when in graduation and in masters, do your political geography seriously.
Okay.
And that is one, because see, that is still in human geography, still in geography departments, political geography is considered a fringe discipline, right? That is that is taught perhaps in the last semester of a particular course, a 3-year course, right? That has been the case. But nonetheless, that doesn't matter. But if you are interested in international relations, apart from studying the whole political geography, including all its dimensions, focus on theoretical dimensions, focus on the hard theoretical dimensions in political geography, like not the theories from Mackinder or Mahan, but space, place, territory, society, their linkages, focus on them. And apart from that, geopolitics, that will cover the theories, right? So those two aspects, if you cover very, very seriously, that will give you a proper base and through which you can apply to various universities where geopolitics is an important. Try to link all your understanding of geography with politics. Keep that exercise in mind always. If you want to be a good political geographer, if you want to be a good geopolitical thinker, and then there are multiple departments, not specifically political geography, but you will know that there are now a number of departments coming up in Indian universities with the word geopolitics as a major, and study of geopolitics as a major field in there, or major topic in their inventory, in their academic system. We have, I think, closer in Karnataka, there is one department of geopolitics and international relations in Manipal. There is one in where is this Chandigarh, Punjab University, Chandigarh. There is, I recently came across a department of geopolitics in Pune. There is one in I think in Guwahati. One I came across in Nagaland. So there are a number of departments which are coming up now, in specific departments which want to study geopolitics, and who better than geographers to inform geopolitics with our understanding of space and place and environment and territory and scale. We have this advantage. So this is, and of course the department in JNU, political geography department, which has admissions after, now it is taking admissions in MPhil, but gradually it will be only PhD. But that is also taught at political geography is also, and geopolitics is also taught at master's levels. There are a number of courses that are, and I'll inform you in advance of a course which will be coming up through this school of e-learning, special center of e-learning, which is now being organized, found in JNU, and through which there will be an important course, Introduction to Geopolitics. So that will also come. So geopolitics and political geography are going to remain important. If you look at the departments internationally, you'll find that there are departments where they look at all geography departments in the world have these political geographers working very specifically on these dimensions. And to go back a century or more than that, Halford Mackinder, the geographer himself, was a political leader, was a diplomat. He was instrumental in establishing the London School of Economics and Political Science. He established more than 30 departments of geography in the United Kingdom. So with that kind of an origin, with that kind of a background, I think internationally we are more better off as political geographers.
I think one question is, sir, what about the career side of it? Then how do we progress if, especially in India, there are limitations to that also, right? So how do we look at that aspect as well? Because if someone is taking something as higher studies, they'll be looking for a career opportunity also in the sector.
Okay. One is that, of course, there is the system of, we know that we acquire NET and JRF and move on to teaching side of it, traditional system. Then we have a number of these, what do we call them, as think tanks, right? Or we can call them as research institutes, research organizations, which have this facility of conducting research in geopolitics, political geography. If you are, and we have now this added advantage of having this knowledge of computer-aided cartography, which is GIS.
Yes.
So there are a number of private and government institutions, research institutions, which are located in various parts of the country and which encourage such kind of training. Geographers getting involved in informing the politics part of it. Geographers informing intelligence. Geographers informing security aspects. I can tell you from experience that a number of my students have really done well in institutions. Say, for example, you must be aware of this Office of the National Security Advisor of the country.
Yes.
It is called the National Security Council Secretariat. He heads. Within that, due to efforts of one of the alumni of our university and specifically this political geography, he is now running a state-of-the-art, the best GIS lab there to inform the country's policy making. It is a real-time data gathering GIS lab.
Okay,
He's instrumental in that. So that is one, and but on the other side, one has to be very clear that we should establish this link between geography and politics and geography and IR. To inform them adequately and inform them with some inputs which only a geographer, which are unique to us.
So there is one question that has been posted. I think someone wants to know about your research topic on impact of COVID-19 on borders.
Okay. There was this survey, online survey, which I was a part of. That's an international team, but forget that project. But look at this in a more larger theoretical manner. That borders have come more closer to us, and they are not only international borders, but caused by an event which has international dimensions. Right? Pandemic is international. But earlier the idea was that borders exist only at the state's territory, edge of the state's territory, but that is not the case. Borders have moved on. We know that how restrictions were imposed within the country. That one state, if even I think today it is relevant that we have to have these RT-PCR tests to travel to different state, and there were these borders were closed between various states of our own country. We know that borders came home when there were these containment zones which had come about, right? So one neighborhood was totally closed because there were a certain number of cases there. Then borders came home when we were kept in home isolation, at more closer. So if someone is infected, he or she was advised to stay at home. So that came home, right? Then borders came upon our bodies. We were asked to wear masks, face shields, keep the ventilation open, keep the doors closed, windows closed, do not interact. So the idea about social distancing was more of physical distancing in practice. Social distancing was not there because still we were connected with our near and dear ones with a number of devices, electronics and whatnot, internet and whatnot. But the border came onto our mouths. It came onto our heads. It came onto our larger bodies. We had to wear these PPE kits and we had to wear these masks and shields. So borders during the pandemic have come closer home, closer to our bodies. They have moved into the territories.
Very, very good answer, sir. Very nice answer. Anyone else who wants to ask questions, please? I think there are no more questions. Sir, thank you very much, sir. Sir, I'll just request one of my, you have any final comments to the participants, sir?
No, it was very interesting being here, and I really enjoyed it. But also, I've forgotten to mention my email address on the last slide. If I can just write it down in the chat box, you can quickly note down.
Yes, sir. That will be really
You
great,
have-
sir. Right now.
If you have any questions, any comments, or if you want to, this is my meena.k@mail.jne.ac.in. And if you have any queries regarding career prospects, please do write to me, and I will always be willing to answer. I always check my email regularly, and whenever possible, I'll answer. Okay? And try to be more active in locating relationships between geography and politics. That will be my final message to you.
Thank you very much, sir. Right. Let me, you might be busy with online classes and all, not daily as of now.
I have online classes. It's true.
Okay, sir. Borders, when we were saying about that COVID-related borders, we were in such kind of a situation. No, even the boundaries of our houses become hot like international borders, something like India and Pakistan. People view something big has happened, and no, we should not even look at that side. So that is the attitude. Sometimes it happens with the. Really, that was interesting answer at the end. So thank you so very much for taking time from your really busy schedule. I'll request one of my students, Nisha, if you are there, to say a word of thanks.
Yes, sir. Good evening, one and all. We have been listening to a very enlightening talk on geography and international relation by Dr. Krishnendra Meena. It's an honor and privilege to offer him vote of thanks. Sir, your presentation has given us insight into the broader aspects of geography and international relation and the political science and geography and their various important aspects of space, place, scale, environment, and territory. Thank you so much, sir, for explaining to us in detail about the project you have been working on. Let me take this opportunity to thank you on behalf of the Department of Geography for sparing your time from a very busy schedule and introducing us this topic. Thank you, sir. Let me also extend my sincere thanks to all faculty members of the Department of Geography and all the students of the department for having actively participating in the session. Thanks to all. I extend sincere thanks to research scholars and project staff of the department and faculty members of other colleges, professionals from various institutions for their participation and students. Thank you once again and one and all. Within this webinar end, you are all exit the session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I'll get back to you on email.
Thank you so much. Thank you.